A 16-year-old boy has died after being stabbed in West London. He was the 30th and final teenage victim to die in the capital in 2021, surpassing a peak of 29 in 2008.
The fatal stabbing on Thursday evening happened shortly after a 15-year-old boy was also found fatally wounded near Croydon in South London.
Of the 30 teenage murders in the capital this year, 27 of them have been stabbings, while 2 have been shootings, and 1 was the result of a suspected arson attack.
The Metropolitan Police has opened 122 murder investigations in London this year, well, in 2021, of which 79 are stabbings. So what can be done about knife crime in the capital? Well, joining us now to discuss this is the CEO of Ben Kinsella Trust, Patrick Green. 122 murder investigations, 79 of which are stabbings. Those are astonishing numbers. What do you think the problem is then?
The shocking numbers. And the problem ultimately is, while 2021 had the record number of teenage murders, if we go back over a decade and beyond, we will see that we have had similar numbers, albeit not as large, all the way through. Knife crime in particular is a problem which just has not been tackled with the consistency and rigor that it needs to be tackled with. It's tackled often as a crime spike. You know, we're speaking this morning about record murders of teenagers, but this is something that has been sustained through the years. It is something that we really haven't put the effort into tackling this, and that's something that we've got to address very quickly. Otherwise, I fear that we could be talking about the same subject this time next year.
Address this problem. I mean, knife crime isn't just a problem in the capital. This is a problem in other cities. I mean, Birmingham, which is an area where I work and cover normally, there's huge problems with stabbings over there. And similarly in the northwest, in Manchester as well. We see this, this theme coming up time and time again. What needs to be done?
You're absolutely right about this being a national issue. And I would also point out that if you look at knife crime statistics over the last decade, knife crime is actually rising faster outside the major cities. So we're seeing knife crime emerge in towns, provincial towns, which have had no knife crime previously. And that's a real concern for us, not only in the big cities, but also seeing it in provincial towns. We have a huge knife crime is a complicated issue. And it's often not treated as such. It's often treated as a simple steps or simple approaches to tackle this issue. We need to not only tackle this through enforcement, helping the police get knives and those who carry them off our streets. We also need to look at prevention and early intervention. We need to change mindsets of particularly young people who think that carrying a knife will protect them. It, in fact, does the exact opposite. It puts them and those around them into significant danger. So we need to do far more, much earlier to change mindsets, as well as tackling this issue through policing.
I was going to say, change the mindsets of people, everyday people, but also in the police. Do you think the police's outlook on knife crime needs to change?
I think the police need an awful lot of support in tackling this issue. The commander of the Metropolitan Police recently said that this is an issue that you can't just arrest your way out of. Knife crime is an issue that we all have to take seriously. Commander Alex Murray, at the scene of one of the murders yesterday, spoke about the need for parents to talk to young people about knife crime. And we would absolutely endorse this, that this is an issue that we need to speak to young people about. And it's best done through people that they trust. That's parents, carers, teachers, sports coaches. These people have a unique relationship with young people. And we have resources on our website, www.benkinsella.org.uk, to help parents have that conversation with young people, and a learning zone for young people to debunk some of the myths that they may pick up through social media, which is playing a significant part in the problems that we face around knife crime. If you look at many of the tragic murders that we've seen over the years, many of them start with frivolous arguments between young people, and particularly about young people feeling disrespected. which then just grow exponentially and are encouraged and fueled through social media. Social media companies need to step into this space as well and help us to do more to tackle this issue.
Why do you think young people want to carry a knife? I mean, what has changed in society where young people feel like they need to stay protected? I mean, what's going on? I mean, when I was a teenager, I wouldn't think of carrying a knife or feel like I needed to protect myself on the streets.
And most young people don't carry knives and feel exactly the same way that you did as a teenager. But for some, this myth about carrying a knife to protect yourself has grown. I go back to social media. Violence is normalized on social media. Some young people have become desensitized to this. There isn't a strong counter narrative to help those young people make better decisions. That's the work that we do, and I think it's the work that parents, carers, and trusted adults can do as well. And these are key issues. We've also have to consider the impact that the pandemic has had on young people, particularly our more vulnerable and most at-risk young people who lost a lot of one-to-one valuable support through the pandemic. And unfortunately, that made it much easier for gangs to lure them into criminality, drug dealing, and ultimately knife crime. They're issues we've got to tackle with going forward as well.
Well, last week I was speaking to the former Children's Commissioner, Anne Longfield, and she said that, what we need is a separate social services for teenagers who are being lost in the current system, which was set up for younger children. Do you think something like that would help going forward?
Absolutely. And, Anne Longfield has done amazing work as the Children's Commissioner and, was warning about what we might see this year as far back as last February. We would certainly support her work and indeed the work of the current Children's Commissioner in terms of tackling this issue and recognising that we've got to do something different and we've got to reach out and help young people, support young people and make sure that they make positive choices and not get lured into knife crime.